A new week begins for LSU Fighting Tiger football.
Pressure comes, he unloads and intercepted! Derek Stingley's got it in the end zone!
This is the Coach O Press Conference.
We look forward to seeing our guys today on Tell the Truth Monday, getting back to playing LSU style of football.
Coming up, Coach O sets the tone for this week. But first, from inside the Capital One studios on the campus of LSU, here is former Tiger Gordy Rush and the voice of your Fighting Tigers, Chris Blair.
Once again, good Monday afternoon, Tiger fans. Coming off a tough loss this past weekend. Again, the Tigers finishing out the final 3 games of the regular season at home at Tiger Stadium. Started on Saturday, overtime loss to Arkansas, the final 16-13. Tigers now get ready to step out of conference. They'll take on ULM from up in Monroe. That one will be a late night kick, 8 o'clock inside Tiger Stadium as the Warhawks come in from the Sun Belt Conference. But Gordy Rush, got to look back at this past Saturday. Don't forget, fans, of course, as always, coming up at the bottom of the hour, Ed Orgeron. We'll talk about last week and what the work will be like this week preparing for the Warhawks. But looking back at Saturday, kind of can be summed up. Defense for the second straight week certainly played well enough to give you a chance to win. Very aggressive, similar to the style and really similar play that we saw against Alabama and Tuscaloosa the week before. Offensively, it was, again, kind of a continuous theme for this team, up and down, and unfortunately more downs than up. There were some sparks,
right,
but they never could get the fire going.
I thought LSU was a better football team. Did not win the football game, and one of the big stats you talked about the entire football game, so as it happened, and certainly in your post-game wrap-up, is accurate. LSU lost the turnover battle. Those 3 turnovers that LSU gave away, the Wildcat snap that Ty Davis was not able to get, and then the 2 interceptions, and obviously the one in overtime, were huge, and it was the story of this football game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, both teams come in at +2, and, turnovers are always big, but there are certain games where, to me, when you looked at Arkansas, again, off to a 4-0 start, stumbled 3 games in a row, got a win over Pine Bluff, and then survived against Mississippi State. I looked at it, even with all the depletion LSU has on both sides of the ball, I really thought it was a toss-up. And then it would become to turnovers. Which team would blink first and which team would blink more often? And unfortunately, it was LSU.
LSU had plenty of opportunities in the first half as well as the defense was playing, and they just couldn't cash in. Kendall Browse went back in the locker room, came up with a couple wrinkles, committed to running the football, involved K.J. Jefferson in the run game a little bit, and then give K.J. Jefferson some credit. He was elusive back there. LSU couldn't bring him down, and he was able to make a couple plays happen. And unfortunately, LSU had seen that before. A little bit of what Bo Nix did in that game in which Auburn came from behind. Same thing happened with Jefferson. Tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, it really was, because you think back to that Auburn game, Bo Nix was able to slip away, but most of the time just ran away.
Right.
And it was K.J. Jefferson. I mean, time and time after, again, in that game, LSU able to bring the blitz, get pressure off the edges, and get to him and have their hands on him. One arm, nearly 2 arms wrapped around him, and he somehow spun away. And you can do that a little bit better when you're 6'5", 245 pounds. But really, the touchdown they had was an all-out blitz. And, I hate to put any blame on the secondary because they brought the house, and they got home. They just couldn't get through the front door, and then waiting down the field was Johnson wide open.
Yeah, look, and I think we talked about this early in the second half. What concerned you was the one play, right? One play all of a sudden draws this thing even, and you're exactly right. LSU brought pressure, and they could not get Jefferson down. As a defensive back, Chris, they'll teach you. You stay with your guy until you see the quarterback has crossed the line of scrimmage. You can't leave him at that point. And I know that's easier said than done. And you can't practice what K.J. Jefferson did. You can't duplicate that on the Ponderosa, but you've got to stay with your guy. And I understand the emotion and the aggression that LSU's defense was playing with. It becomes a bust. It is the big play, and it got the game even.
Yeah, you talk, I guess the only way you could emulate it at all is to have Damone Clark take the snaps, but he needs those reps as well at linebacker. Really impressed again with Damone, who's been steady all season long. Micah Baskerville, I think, a lot like Neil Farrell, the 3 previous games, playing his best football. I mean, he was all over the place, getting after Arkansas on Saturday. And, it seems to me with 2 games remaining, obviously LSU needs 2 more wins to be bowl eligible. That's the hope for everybody, certainly for the coaching staff, Coach Ed Orgeron, who will be leaving the program at the end of the year, is to get to that bowl game. Even though you put all that energy, all that effort, and come up short 16-13, I still feel good that the guys who are making a lot of the plays defensively are those senior leaders in Damone Clark and Micah Baskerville, because I think they can help not only the coaches but the other teammates to keep that energy for these next 2 games. They have to have it.
All right, what's been lost is the coaching job that Blake Baker's done with those linebackers, and you're exactly right. Baskerville and Clark have been all SEC-worthy type of season. Certainly Clark has been spectacular, and Baskerville has come on as of late. And you can tell when they go to the 3-4 and they bring in Mike Jones, and you see the athleticism that we knew about, right? It just didn't translate to inside linebacker, but in that 3-4 defense, Mike Jones brings a whole lot of speed. And then we've really been surprised in B.J. Ojulari and his ability to play a little bit what they call the old elephant position. We talked about Charles Haley and the Niners, that he's able to put his hand in the ground and come off the edge. He's also able to step back and play in space, and we hadn't seen that, Chris, because Ojulari had primarily been a defensive end in the 4-3. This team is so much faster in this 3-4 defense, and you saw a really good orchestrated offense in Arkansas run by Kendall Browse that had all this creation, trickery, and so many times they tried to get to the edge with misdirection and jet sweeps and quick passes, and you saw how fast LSU was. Imagine if they had been in that defense against the UCLAs and the Kentuckys and even Ole Miss at that point. I wish that we would have seen LSU in that 3-4 defense playing those teams.
Yeah, you made a great point earlier in that Arkansas, we made the joke before the game that if you are eligible to catch, eligible to throw or run the football, they're going to use you. And they tried that in the first half. A lot of reverses, even tried the double pass once, the reverse in the pass. But because of the speed on the corners, Kendall Browse went in the locker room and said, all right now in this type of game where nobody's getting a lot of yards offensively, we're going to put the ball in K.J. Jefferson's hands, and he's going to run between the tackles. And, again, when you're 6'5", 240 pounds, you're going to get 3 and 4 yards.
Yeah, and obviously that wasn't the game plan. Now, look, he does run the football. He's one of the 4 rushers that they had coming into the game that had 400-plus yards. But also Arkansas knows we still got to play Missouri at the end of the year. They go to Tuscaloosa this week. I need Jefferson to be alive by the time I get to the end of this SEC schedule. You want to limit the type of hits that he wants to take in this type of game. But by bringing Jefferson or activating him as a runner, nobody is +1 in the defense, meaning when all things are equal and they're stopping you, you're a +1 when you activate Jefferson, and he did a great job.
Before we move on to offense, obviously Coach O today, I suspect, will be asked about the quarterback situation. Much was made last week that we were going to see 2. Weren't real sure how that would come to fruition, but now we know. How will that plan move forward? But defensively, we talked about Baskerville, we've talked about Clark, but a couple other guys that really stood out to me, and one who over the last couple of weeks, Sony Fanua, seems to really thrive in this defensive scheme as well. I mean, he's created a lot of pressure, had the deflected pass last week against Bryce Young at Alabama. Cordell Flott, it was great to see him back out there. Jaquelin Roy is to me a guy that we will be saying more and more of as the years go by. I mean, he's just coming into his own. And I want to give a salute to Darren Evans, who I know was much maligned in his debut last year in the game against Mississippi State. But, again, Corey Raymond is Corey Raymond. He's done an excellent job with this secondary, having to piece it together with duct tape, with staples. This guy can go in. I think some of those guys really ought to get some kudos, as well as Cam Lewis. Lewis looking well, too.
I'm with you. Let's talk about Cam Lewis, who had been, for the most part, a special teams guy, or he was the extra defensive back, came back when all those safeties got hurt over the years. He's played really, really good football with 5 tackles in this football game. I thought he played really well against Alabama. He's another guy that has benefited with the aggression and the fact that LSU's bringing more pressure and they're playing a little bit more men on the back back end. He's played well. And you mentioned Evans. Darren Evans, of course, we remember the Mississippi State game, and he hadn't really practiced much of all the COVID when he made the transfer from Nichols. I thought he played a nice game against Arkansas and some good receivers.
All right, let's talk offense. I mentioned the quarterback situation. Max Johnson, Coach O, pretty clear last week. He's going to start the game. We'll see how it goes from there. Had 2 possessions, finished 3 of 6 for 21 yards. They go to Garrett Nussmeier. Special teams, by the way, we'll talk about them. Finally got some real movement in punt returns,
yes.
Setting up short fields, or relatively short fields, early in that game. Garrett comes in, drives them down. They get the field goal, so they tie the game 3-3. And then a possession or 2 later, that's when he leads the drive, has the great spin move, gets set, makes a great throw, and then Jack Besh just, I don't know what else you say about, number 1, the catch, number 2, staying in bounds with the toe at the back line. But suddenly you got a little bit of momentum. Now, the numbers are not going to jump off the page. In fact, the first couple of throws from Garrett, it was like, hey, there's some excitement because he's throwing it downfield, but they weren't able to get the connection. My question to you is, now you come into this week, you've seen kind of the rotation, or at least the plan against Arkansas. Now you come in against ULM, and I don't want to say a tune-up game because that's number 1, disrespectful to the Warhawks. But number 2, you got to get this win if you have any hope of the postseason. How do you think the plan is different? I think Coach O will probably address it here, but what's your gut tell you?
My gut tells me that this LSU defense is playing really, really good football, and LSU is going to be favored, obviously, against ULM. But this is, if I'm Coach Orgeron in my staff meeting this morning, I'm saying, hey, what do we need to do to beat Texas A&M? And rarely do you have coaches think about that, but I mean that's for a lot of reasons they want to win that football game. Whatever we're going to do against A&M, we need to do this week. And so my concern with Nussmeier, I thought as a freshman did a lot of good things, are the turnovers. And as well as your defense is playing, you don't want to lose the turnover. You can't afford to lose the turnover battle because Texas A&M has a very good defense as well too. Their struggles were on offense. They gave up a pick 6 against Ole Miss that was big in the deciding part of that football game. So to me, I tend to lean towards you want to play them both, but a little bit more Max Johnson. And after this game, I think to kind of hopefully reinstall some confidence for Max, give him the opportunity to start this game and see where it goes from there.
Yeah, I was thinking this morning, and again, I don't even pretend to be an X's and O's guy. But I was thinking if this game this week, you still are able to work both in, maybe the majority of the reps go to Max Johnson, and then you go into Texas A&M, and it's Max Johnson's game to win or lose. And then, of course, if things are really going south, you've gotten some reps, you've gotten some experience for Nuss.
Yes. You
could go to him. But, I'm sure that somebody in our media pool is going to ask Coach Orgeron about the plan this week. We'll just have to wait and see. Ty Davis-Price, want to mention him quickly. Another, I think, 4 out of the last 5 games, Gordy, over 100 yards. He finished with 106. They were hard yards again. Yes. Arkansas is a physical team. The rotation of running backs. Again, there's times where Ty Davis-Price really needs a breather. You got to go to either Kiner or Goodwin. Your thoughts towards the last 2 games of the season on, do you just ride out TDP?
Well, yeah, absolutely. That's your identity on offense. You're a power-running football team, and with the traps and the counters and the things that you've done, that's really what you've excelled at. And what's been amazing, you did it with 3 new offensive linemen. You had new guards in there, and then Cam Wire went down, and they had to bounce Dellinger out to left guard, and Cardell Thomas came in and played right guard. Absolutely. I think that's who you are. And I think that Kiner with 5 carries, Josh Williams with 2, Goodwin with 2, 9, gave you a chance there to at least keep Ty Davis-Price healthy. 28 carries, 119, just 3.8 yards per carry. And that's, Chris, what Arkansas did is what you're going to see out of ULM and A&M. They're absolutely going to sell the farm on you. What was impressive was that as the game went on, LSU's offensive line wore down Arkansas, and the Tigers had much more success running the football in the second half. You're going to have to continue to do that, hopefully being able to complement better passing game with that running game next week.
16-13 in overtime. Arkansas with the field goal. Cam Little splits the uprights, and the Razorbacks take the Golden Boot back to Fayetteville. All right, we're done talking about that. Now we got to look ahead to the Warhawks of ULM. We'll take a quick break. Don't forget, just a few moments, Ed Orgeron will take the podium at the Lawton Room. He'll address this past week and look ahead to the matchup with ULM. Coming up Saturday night, Tiger Stadium. Kickoff once again. It's a late one, starting just after 8 o'clock. Back after this on the LSU Sports Radio Network.
Do you have Medicare and make less than $1,615 per month? Or do you have Medicare and Medicaid? You may be eligible for extra benefits you're not getting now, and you may be able to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan from People's Health. Don't wait. If you enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan from People's Health today, your benefits may begin the first day of next month. Call 1-855-410-7761. That's 1-855-410-7761. People's Health, your Medicare health team.
Your team is on a 3-game winning streak, and you're convinced it's because you've worn your lucky football jersey and haven't taken it off. Not for work, a wedding, or even bathing. With Cox, you can actually wear it all season long because we give you game day coverage and content 24/7. So join us and dress accordingly.
Hey, Tiger fans, just say Fan Zone into your Contour voice remote and enhance your game day experience all week long. Play games, win prizes. Cox, we're LSU fans 24/7.
He's got a seam. He's down the near side hash.
Tiger fans, if you've ever wanted to listen to the LSU Sports Radio Network while watching your Fighting Tigers on TV, now you can, and it's easy to do.
Just pause the TV. Use the LSU Sports mobile app to stream the audio on your smartphone or tablet. Connect to a smart speaker, then wait for the audio to catch up to the point your TV is paused. Push play, and you are all set.
Watch the Tigers and listen with the LSU Sports Radio Network and the LSU Sports mobile app.
15-10, 5, touchdown! Tigers!
We always picture the SEC student athlete for their speed, their vertical, their agility. But it's time we picture them for more. For their campus voice, their community outreach, and for the simple fact that 20 years later, they're still someone's pride and joy. More than students, more than athletes. In the SEC, it just means more.
Leading you up to this week's Coach O press conference. Here again are Gordy Rush and Chris Blair.
Going to have all day and really afternoon and evening. Get your tailgate on this coming Saturday. Tigers hosting ULM out of the Sun Belt non-conference action. Kickoff just after 8 o'clock. Don't forget, bring some flavor to your game day with Tabasco hot sauce. Go Tigers and go Tabasco, the official hot sauce of LSU Athletics. ULM, Terry Bowden going to return to Tiger Stadium. Of course, part of the Bowden family and head coach of Auburn for a number of years. Back at FBS football at ULM. His first season, 4-6 on the season. They've had two really good wins, I guess you could say. They beat Liberty, which kind of was a surprise. They were underdogs in that game, and then beat South Alabama on the road in Sun Belt play, which was a little bit of surprise. They've had some thumpings this year. A couple of teams have taken it out on ULM, but they've also had times where they've put some points on the board. Rich Rod is the offensive coordinator, another former Power 5 head coach, and it looks like his son's going to be the signal caller. They've gone with 2 or 3 different quarterbacks on the year, but last week in the loss, they were pretty much going with Rodriguez.
Yeah, I think Rich Rod trying to find an identity on offense. He started the season off with his son, Rhett Rodriguez, he wears number 4. He's more of a throwing quarterback, Chris. And last time we saw Rich Rod was the 2019 long football game when he was the OC with Matty Luke up at Ole Miss, in which Joe Burrow had a field day, but also John Rice Plumlee ran wild on an LSU injured defense, and so that was mostly a run sort of offense. So he started with his son. It didn't go too well, and he brought in Chandler Rogers, who is a dual threat quarterback, ran for 482 yards, and really has gotten the bulk of the snaps for ULM, and they split time in this last game, a 3-point loss to Arkansas State. So it'd be interesting to see who's going to actually be the quarterback here. Rodriguez, again, more of the thrower, Rogers, the runner.
Scoring about 22 points a game, but defensively giving up 35 points a game. I mentioned to Doug Morrow as we signed off the air Saturday night with Terry Bowden. I mean, this is a complete coming down here. They're going to be underdogs. It's the little Sun Belt taking on the mighty SEC. Whatever's in their playbook, I imagine they'll go from page 1 to page whatever the last page is and be ready to throw it at LSU. They got nothing to lose.
Yeah, and again, I think the key factor in this game is going to be LSU's mindset, Chris. 2 heartbreaking losses back-to-back weeks against Alabama and Arkansas. I've been in that locker room, Chris. It's ULM. You can sit there and tell stories and show film about Appalachian State beating Michigan and so forth and so on. You're not going. All the batteries are not going to be popping, right? All of them not going to be charged for this football game. Can LSU come out here and play with the emotion and the focus necessary to win this game? Otherwise, you get you a Florida-Sanford game or something like that gets really, really interesting, like the last weekend.
Great story when Georgia Southern went to take on Alabama several years ago, running the true traditional triple option. They had talked all week about how Coach Saban said, this is what they're going to do. You got to be ready for this. So get out on the corners. Time and time again, when they got out there and they knew they were going to get blocked low, those guys were like, I don't want any of that. I don't want any of that. I'm not going to take that type of hit. So again, I think you're spot on there. It's hard to get these guys up. Now the best part is, they need a win Saturday and a win to finish the regular season to go bowling. That will be the message I imagine they will hear most of the week. All right, Gordy, we'll see you Saturday. Let's go to Coach O.
Our players fought. Like I told you after the game, I felt bad. Defensive effort again. Hold them to 16 points and good offense. And especially we held them to have their rushing yards, have their total yards. Damone Clark and Micah Baskerville is playing their best ball, which is very good to see. Bright spot, Savion Jones got a couple of reps in there, looked very, very good. Man, I was so happy to see him play very well. On offense, same old stuff. Got to tell the truth. I watched the film this morning with the coaches. We got to put our players in better positions. We got to call better players. We got to execute. It's the same old story. But hey, I'm not going to back off of that. And some of our players were frustrated after the game. I don't blame them. I mean, they're fighting, and we got to take the responsibility, and I'm accountable for that, to put them in better position, make plays. Special team, we should have been ready for that field goal fake. We're not, so we got some work to do. We're -3 in the turnover battle, which is very costly, as you guys know. We pride ourselves in winning the turnover battle. Red zone touchdown, we got to score. Explosive plays, we got to beat contested plays. We got to be able to make them or be more creative to get our guys open. Bright spot on offense, as you guys know, Ty Davis is running the ball well, and so is Jack Best catching that football. All right, on to ULM. First of all, I haven't watched a whole lot of ULM this morning because I've been trying to fix LSU, but we're going to respect every opponent and get ready to play those guys. I'm glad the game's at 8 o'clock. Our Tigers fans get to get ready, and I get to go watch my son's last game. It's Cody's last game at McNeese, and it's senior day, and parents get to walk him on the field. So I'm very, very thankful to God that I'm able to do that and come back and coach our team. Any questions?
Hey, Coach, on the broadcast the other night, the announcer said something about Jake Peets had told him he left the practice and let the quarterbacks do work, or y'all figure it out, or something like that. Did you hear about that, or do you know about that?
That's the first time I heard of that. It ain't happened on my watch. Maybe it might have been after practice or something like that, but I didn't see nothing like that. And that's the first time I hear something like that.
Okay, there were a few questions about that and that story.
Well,
I don't know
if it is, Jock, it's unacceptable. But I don't know that happened. It may have. I'll find out, though.
Coach, do you feel like you guys are practicing well on offense and then it's not carrying through to the play calling? Are you all practicing more than you're putting in the game, I guess is probably.
I'm sure we're practicing a lot. I think from what I heard, the Alabama, and I addressed it, the Alabama game, that we had too much in, and it was kind of an overload for the players. That's what I heard, and I addressed it. I didn't hear it last week, though. I think they fixed it.
Ed, good morning. Just, I guess, the obvious quarterback question. What's kind of the plan at that position moving forward, and how would you assess how those guys have played?
Yeah, I like Garrett. I think he's a good player. I like Max, a good player. I don't feel like Garrett beat Max out. I don't think that Max deserves to be benched. I gave him a chance to beat him out, although I think he's a very good player. That play he made the touchdown play he made was a phenomenal play, but we also a -3 in the turnover ratio. We only scored 7 points, So Max is still our starter. It's going to be up to Garrett and his father if they want a redshirt or if they want to play in a backup role, and perhaps again go in the game. And if he plays better, keep him in. But if I were him, I'd redshirt. There's only 2 games left, but that's not my decision. And let me say this again: some guys wrote some stuff that I really didn't like. I mean, I'm giving them the option to redshirt or not, and that's what I do for everybody. Now, who plays in this football game, I'll decide that. Thank you.
Is the redshirt still on the table for him?
Well, that
is the redshirt still on the table for him?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he had 1 more game left.
Okay. Is there any benefit to him starting or rolling through the whole week, Garrett, as a starter? Is there a benefit to see if that works?
Yeah, it could be, but I don't think it'll make a difference, Mike. It could be. They've been sharing snaps the whole time. You can look at it the other way. Would it have been a benefit for Max to get all the snaps? So it's kind of.
Hey, Coach, back here. Good afternoon. I know you're still talking about some of the issues on the offensive side, but on the defensive side, was it as simple as going to the 3-4 2 weeks ago to Alabama that's made such a difference, or what else? Because it certainly seems the continuity and the identity on defense has come a lot faster than what you're still looking for on offense.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, was it as simple as going to the 3-4, or what have you seen that's led to that?
Yeah, well, we put more people in the line of scrimmage. We got some darn good outside linebackers. We use them as outside linebackers, not 4-3 linebackers. We spread out, so we're playing really a 52 defense. And it looks like Bear, but it also can be cover 8, and then we can bring anybody that we want. And we're doing a lot of zero blitzing, which I had never done here. So I've been the head coach. I'm from Pete Carroll's family. We don't zero blitz. We always have somebody in the post. But we wasn't getting enough on third down, so we're overloading their protection. And Coach Call helped us put in. Durante's doing a great job assimilating. Corey and Durante are doing a great job with the back end not getting burned deep. The thing you worry about zero blitzes, you miss an assignment, it's touchdown. But our guys are executing it well. We've gotten out of the classroom per se, and we're on the field more with walkthroughs and stuff like that. And that was all. That's all started when I watched the Alabama offense. I just didn't think we could stay there in the 4-3 and duke it out with them whole game, and it worked. So we got a lot of stuff to build off of it. I wish I could have done anything, I'd have started this 4 years ago, to be honest with you.
Hey, Coach, when you hired Jake Peetz, he's obviously a bright guy, a lot of NFL experience. Would you, reflecting on it, maybe want a guy with more play calling experience, or do you feel like he's been learning on the job at all, or how do you look back on that?
The one thing I did was trust Joe Brady. I wanted his offense. I wanted somebody who could run it. I knew there'd be a learning curve. There's a learning curve, but that's also why I hired DJ. DJ's he's in charge of the third down. And look, those guys are new. There's a big learning curve. Was it a mistake or not? I won't say it was a mistake. But they need to do a better job, and they know that. I think the outstanding men, every time I get to work at 6 o'clock, they're there. Look, I came Saturday morning, work out early, DJ is there. It's not like they're not working. I just think that their experience level may not have been what I needed for this job.
Hey, Coach, going back to the defensive side of the ball, you mentioned in the 3-4 with the outside linebackers, B.J. Ojolari on the outside, but then even with Mike Jones playing a lot as well.
That's right.
What have you seen from those guys and how they've kind of taken on that challenge?
Yeah, I told Mike we finally found a spot. Mike was a nickel. He plays on the slot. He came to LSU. He went to play in the middle. That plays on a guard. But we found a place in between, outside linebacker, and I really think we found him a spot. I really like him there. There's some technique stuff that we can fix. He's excited about. He's playing well. It gives him a chance to play. It gives us a chance to not always play nickel, to have 3 linebackers in the game, because Micah can stay in there, DeMond can stay in there. Now he's on the line of scrimmage. So we kind of lucked into that, but we found him a spot. Hey, that's a good point. You noticed that, didn't you? Good stuff.
Coach, I'm going to beat Glenn to the punch here and ask about Cam. Cam Wire, his status.
I don't think he's going to play the rest of the season. Doesn't look like it.
And then 2 made a really good play in the game. McLaughlin coming around and getting the ball. I guess if you just could speak to his future, and you getting a chance to see some guys, that weren't slated to play this year, but that are stepping up and maybe getting a jump start on their careers.
I think Dwight's going to be one of the outstanding corners at LSU. I think he has a chance to be a high draft pick. He's very savvy. He's a great young man. He has a great personality now. He's always laughing and he's always cutting up a little bit, but when it comes time to get serious, the thing about Dwight, he's a tall corner that can run. I know Coach Carroll would love him. and he has great feet, and he's tough, and he wants to learn.
Hey, Coach, on your right. It wasn't until this past weekend that somebody passed Kayshon Boutte for the most receiving touchdowns in the SEC this year. Obviously, Kayshon hasn't played in a month. What was how hard was it to overcome losing him? And I know the game you win, Florida, Dre gets 3 touchdowns, but is it about finding a guy or two that can really dominate a game for you?
You know, we discussed that today. I think that whether it be schematically, whether it be what position they're playing, or whether it may be the player, we have not found a legitimate replacement besides Jack Best. I think if you look at our most dominant receiver right now is Jack Best. And but, you know, Kayshon's a very special player, obviously a big, strong player that can run. It reminds me a lot of Jamar. So not a lot of them will come around. But we haven't, besides Jack Best, we haven't found that lead dog to take our place.
Yeah, hey, Coach, you kind of mentioned after the game that the locker room was down, and that was something you needed to address. Just, I guess, kind of what's the message to the team, you know, that they're coming back on Monday for another?
We got to get off the canvas. I had to get off the canvas yesterday. No, I was the same way. Today I'm better. It just takes a little time. We got a 24-hour rule, and we got to understand, man. We got to, you know, listen. You know, somebody says, "Well, what do you got to lose?" It's a game. We play to win the game. Okay, and that's important to us and competitive. And I want these guys to finish strong. I want them to be proud. Hey, and life's going to give you a bunch of stuff in your life, man. You got to keep on fighting. And if you keep on fighting now, you'll keep on fighting then, and you better teach your children to keep on fighting. If you stop now, you're going to stop then. It's no secret.
Hey, Coach, right here to your right. I would just want to know, we've lost a lot of guys this year. So how do you feel about the future of our class with the young guys that have stepped up and really have made a big difference and impact?
Yeah, I think it's a very positive that they get to come in. You build in depth. Those guys are getting a lot of valuable reps. I think that when you get everybody back healthy, you see, obviously you got to look at the guys that declare for the draft. You got to look at the transfer portal. You got to look at academics. I'm really on our guys hard right now to finish strong in the classroom. You know, I'm going to be going in a couple of weeks if we don't go to a bowl. One of the things I am concerned about is them continuing to go into class and be able to finish the semester strong.
Hey, Coach, it seems like you've had Trey Palmer back there returning punts and getting good, valuable field position. Is it part of the game plan to have him make those returns and not necessarily fair catch the ball? Or how important has he been, or the return position been for your team?
It's very important. It's something I wish that we could do a better job of in the return game, get more result. But as you know, the spread punt has changed a lot of things. There's not a lot of big returns in college football anymore because of the spread punt. And there's not a lot of blocks because of the spread punt. But Trey has done a good job for us. He has gained some valuable yards for us. And I think that we've changed some things on our return game, changed some techniques that could give him some room. You know, Coach Mack says if you hold up your guy for a second, it gives him 10 free yards. If we got 10 free yards, it's a first down.
Coach, do you feel Durante Jones has really grown into the job, and do you think he's got a future as a DC somewhere else?
I'm proud of him. I'm really proud of him. Look, when I went during the opening, I said, we're doing this. You know what he said? 2 words. Yes, sir. And put it in. Didn't blink. And he's called him. He's got a feel for it. And listen, to call zero blitz, man, you know what I mean? You got to have some, And he's doing it. He's not blinking.
I guess kind of a follow-up to that, you mentioned back at the open date installing all those blitzers. There was a story relayed on the broadcast that an analyst came up at 6 o'clock on Friday night and had this new blitz. Was it just kind of a full team effort to sort of find those things and install that, or where did it really originate, all those ideas?
Well, we're looking at, I told the guys we got to change. Going into Alabama, we have to change. And I was looking at the front because that's my expertise. And we weren't stopping the run. It's hard to stop the run in 4-3. It really is. You got to just do different things or have Cortez Kennedy and Russell Maryland, and we don't have them yet, okay? But I knew some defenses that we could put in that would be better against the run and give them they have to change their blocking schemes. So while I was doing that, other people were researching that. Coach Call came up to me, and it was a Friday morning. It was during the open date. And he says, Coach, I've got these blitzes. I know they're going to get home, but they got to be zero. I said, run them. So we came in that weekend and we put them in, and we ran them all week, and they've been working for us.
I guess we should probably talk about Ed and Austin and Liam, the guys that have made it through the season. We talk about their replacements a lot. What about the durability that those guys have shown this year?
Yeah. I think Liam had 2 sprained ankles last week. It's kind of hard to walk on that, but he was practicing by Tuesday. Big Austin, every day there might be something wrong with him, but I think he's played more games now than anybody here. Ed Ingram had to miss the last game because of a concussion, but you know what? We're stretched as a unit. The O-line and D-line there, I guess who's the first one cheering them on? Ed Ingram. Those 3 are like brothers, so I'm very, very proud of those guys. They came back. The season didn't turn out like they wanted to, but you know what? They're still fighting. That says a lot.
And you mentioned academics and your departure in a couple of weeks. It made me think of recruiting. And, I'm sure every coach in the country will be trying to become poach, when that window opens or however it opens. I guess, what efforts are you doing there to try to ensure that, this class can stay in as tact as possible? And I saw the guys tweet, last week that they were all still solid, et cetera. Yeah. But, if you could kind of give me your take on where recruiting is now.
Yeah, we do the same thing. We have a call sheet. I call my players, 1 call a week. Austin is having his personnel people text him all the time, just like we do. Saturday morning, we had a great call morning. We called all our guys, and everyone I've told that LSU is the place for them. I still believe it's the place for them, even though they're not committed. All the guys that we recruited, I told them the same story. They know it's true. On what they do after I leave, that's up to them. But I do think it's going to be in good hands. Austin's in there. I'm assuming there'll be some coaches that'll stay. Hopefully they take the lead, which I'm sure they will. And hopefully get a coach in place right away so we can start recruiting.
Coach, Terry Bowden's been around for quite some time now, the UL Monroe coach. Have you gone up against him in the past at any time?
Yeah, I know him. Obviously I went up against his daddy, Florida State and Miami, and I got to see him the other day. He looks good. He's older than me. He looks good. He's a good man. Pete Jenkins worked for him. I had a lot of good things to say about him. I watched him at Auburn when he had all those good years. A lot of respect for him. The thing I really am appreciative. He come in the first year, and we kept all our coaches, all the schools in the state of Louisiana together for the camps. And Monroe, as you guys know, is a city for the enemy. We got to keep them out. And he did a good job of not letting them in there.
Coach, over here on your right, walk us through how Max handled the benching. And
say it again?
Walk us through how Max handled the benching. How do you think he handled it?
Like a champ.
How do you think he'll
like a champ? He didn't say a word, like a champ. Hey, look, he ain't said a word. Yes, sir. Got it. Hey, that's it. And nothing else been said.
There were after the game, I guess when Nuss had thrown the pick, and then maybe the game ended, and Nuss looked a bit down, and Mason Smith, Jack Besh, a lot of the freshmen were over there, kind of like you said with Max, picking him up, telling him it was all right. What do you think of just the character of this freshman class?
Outstanding. Probably the highest character freshman class we've had. And, Jack Marucci, who y'all read, does a lot of analytics and I don't know how he grades character, but he does. He says, Coach, this is the highest class we brought in. And he's the same one that told me before the 2019 year we'll win it because of the character we had on this team. So we feel like we have a high character class, and that shows those guys are close, man. Those guys stuck together. Nowadays everybody knows each other through recruiting, through the internet. They become friends before they get here, and they're really close. And those guys really like Garrett. He's kind of like the team favorite as far as one of the players. He's a leader. We put him on the leadership committee as a freshman, so he has all those qualities.
Coach, you already talked about the team morale, but I want to circle back just on the offense specifically, 2 back-to-back weeks where them making a play could have been the deciding factor in a win. How are they feeling on offense, and what have they been saying?
I think they're pissed, to be honest with you. I don't blame them. Just tell the truth. And we got to take responsibility. Well, we got to put them in a better position. That's the only way we keep this team together. We got to tell the truth. Now, if it was a play that, we should have made a play. It was right there. We could have beat a guy. We're wide open, and we missed the ball. That did not happen. There's a lot of times where they need to be put in better situations. I don't mind saying that. I'm responsible for that. I'm not – somebody's going to write that up put somebody underneath the bus, whatever they call that. There ain't no bus over there where I live, okay? I'll just tell the truth, and that's the truth. We should have put them in better position. So those that write that, later. You can say that when you're a lame duck coach.
Not to circle back to the point, but after the game, you talked about the Tyrion Davis Price play. Did you learn? Were they working on that during the week at practice, and did they feel confident in what they were doing?
Not enough. Not enough. It was going to be a short yardage play and a red zone play, but not enough. No, not right there. Nope. Thank you guys. Have a good day. Go Tigers.
Coach Ed Orgeron with the Coach O press conference this week. Of course, taking some of the tidbits out of that. Cam Wire, Coach felt like may be done for the season, which is, again, devastating news for that young student athlete and certainly for this already much depleted offensive line. Tigers get ready to take on ULM coming up this Saturday. Kickoff just after 8 o'clock inside Tiger Stadium. Take a quick break. We'll come back, set the programming for the rest of the week after this on the LSU Sports Radio Network.
Support your LSU Tigers with Hancock Whitney, the official bank of LSU Athletics. From game day to the offseason, Hancock Whitney LSU credit and debit cards are a big win for any Tiger fan. Want to get your paws on these cards? Well, apply online or visit HancockWhitney.com/LSU. Hancock Whitney Bank, member FDIC. All accounts subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions may apply.
Our Lady of the Lake, just like LSU, is anchored by deep roots put down almost a century ago. We share a singular vision to advance health, education, and research to serve the incredible people of Louisiana. Our partnership with LSU is inspired by our passions for knowledge and our commitments to our community and healthy Louisiana families. Together, there's nowhere we can't go. Our Lady of the Lake is proud to be the healthcare provider of LSU Athletics.
He's got a seam. He's down the near side hash. Tiger fans, if you've ever wanted to listen to the LSU Sports Radio Network while watching your Fighting Tigers on TV, now you can, and it's easy to do.
Just pause the TV. Use the LSU Sports mobile app to stream the audio on your smartphone or tablet. Connect to a smart speaker, then wait for the audio to catch up to the point your TV is paused. Push play, and you are all set.
Watch the Tigers and listen with the LSU Sports Radio Network and the LSU Sports mobile app.
15-10-5, touchdown! Tigers!
We always picture the SEC student athlete for their speed, their vertical, their agility. But it's time we picture them for more. For their campus voice, their community outreach, and for the simple fact that 20 years later, they're still someone's pride and joy. More than students, more than athletes. In the SEC, it just means more.
This is the Coach O press conference.
Wrapping things up on this Monday, it was announced earlier today that the regular season finale at Tiger Stadium, LSU hosting Texas A&M, that will kick off at 6 o'clock. So they'll be under the lights once again to finish out the season against Jimbo Fisher and the Aggies. Well, Coach O got a chance to speak to the media today. Your chance to speak to the head coach on Wednesday. The Ed Orgeron Show live from TJ Ribs will come your way Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. If you can't make it to the restaurant, no problem. You can call in with a question for Coach or tweet us live at LSU Radio. Then on Saturday, we will get underway. The broadcast will start 6 o'clock with LSU Game Day presented by Your View. We'll have Brandon Taylor, Marlon Favorite, former Tigers, along with Hunt Palmer to get our broadcast day started. Then Doug Morrow and Gordy Rush will join me for the call inside Tiger Stadium as LSU will step out of conference and host the Warhawks of ULM. Got some round ball coming up tonight, 6 o'clock first tip-off, I should say, is LSU's men's basketball. 2-0 start on the year. They'll take on Liberty inside the PMAC. Hope to